how to alienate your customer base, and how to punch yourself in the eye with your own rifle. This week on Mail Call Mondays. Mail Call Mondays is sponsored by Modular Driven Technologies. If you need a chassis system for your precision rifle, check out mdttac.com. I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Welcome to another Mail Call Mondays, and this Monday we are going to do a little bit of a current events kind of thing. We don't normally cover news or events going on in social media, but I thought it was kind of interesting this week because there were a couple of things that occurred that were precision rifle oriented, and I thought you guys might be interested in. Now, first and foremost, many of you have seen the blurbs about McRees Precision and the dust-up that they have caused now on social media. And we were originally going to review one of the McRees Precision G10 chassis. One of our awesome viewers loaned this to us to do a review on it, but some issues in the current social media aspect of things and company policy aspect of things have caused us to kind of take a new look at this and decide if we really want to go into the review on this chassis system. Nothing about the chassis system itself, just a little bit about how its parent company conducted itself regarding the chassis system. One of the key features of McRees chassis are they have this little bubble level here in the stock, and proudly on the side of the stock it says U.S. Patent 9170067. McRees is really proud of this bubble level in the side of their chassis system. In fact, so proud of the bubble level that on their Facebook page and on their social media, they put out this statement. Under legal disclaimers, they said, if you purchase a chassis/rifle with an embedded cant indicator level from a source other than McRees Precision or an authorized dealer for McRees Precision, it is not authorized by McRees and you may be liable for infringing McRees patents. If you infringe McRees patents, you may be responsible for paying money damages enjoined from using the chassis/rifle you purchased, and even required to pay McRees attorney fees spent enforcing its rights against you. Now, what I gather from reading this legal disclaimer is McRees is basically saying that if you, the precision rifle shooter out there, own a chassis system other than a McRees Precision chassis with a bubble level in the chassis, that McRees may sue you and then require you to pay their attorney's fees. Guys, this is not a really good way to do business. First of all, there are a ton of chassis systems on the market that have bubble levels built into the chassis. Now, if they infringe upon McRees patents, then McRees is obviously well within their rights to sue that company for the patent infringement and then recover whatever damages a judge or a jury decides is fair based upon the lost revenue for that level. But the thing is with patents, in order to be a violation of their patent, it has to hit all the check marks in that patent. Now, obviously, I'm not a patent attorney. I'm just a knuckle-dragging trigger puller. But a lot of the chassis manufacturers out there have already done their homework, and they've already had lawyers look at McRees' patent and determine if the product that they are manufacturing violates the patent or not. So for McRees to come out and basically threaten any precision rifle shooter that owns any other chassis system that they may sue them for the fact that they possess a chassis system with a bubble level is just absolute nonsense. I have a feeling you're going to see a significant drop-off in McRees sales. You are going to see even fewer of their chassis systems at precision rifle matches than you already do. So not a real good move on their part. I asked you guys on our Facebook page what you thought about McRees' statement, and the replies were pretty much negative. I didn't see anybody stepping up and saying that, hey, it was all right, or they thought that this was a good idea. Now again, McRees does have the right to enforce their patents, and I would expect them to do so, but I would also expect them to go after the companies, not the consumers. Going after the consumers does nothing but breed some bad blood in the precision rifle shooting community and get your company a really bad name. So that's my opinion on it. I really want to hear how you guys feel, though. Do you think McRees was doing the right thing by putting out this statement, or do you think that they went a little bit too far by threatening to sue consumers? Let me know what your opinion is. Please put it in the comment section down below, or send it to us at 8541tactical@gmail.com. I really want to hear what you guys have to say about it. The McRees chassis systems overall have been a fairly good product. I mean, they hit all of the marks that you need in a chassis system. They're adjustable, they hold the rifle, they do their job. But after this latest little debacle, I think that they're going to have some serious reductions in their sales. So we'll see how that goes going forward. And in other news, we had some other social media postings and some questions on free recoil, specifically free recoil shooting from barricades. On Accurate Ordnance's website, and we'll post a link down below, they posted an article on free recoil as it applies to precision rifle competition. Now, for some of you guys that don't maybe understand the concept of free recoil, that is basically allowing the rifle to do what it wants to do, not resisting recoil with your body. Now, it might sound at first that that's going to cause your rifle to go flying across the room. It really doesn't, especially with our heavy precision rifle setups. The rifle doesn't go flying anywhere, but it does have a considerable amount of movement. So free recoil does require learning some techniques to avoid getting scope punched, first of all, but then second of all, having your rifle come loose of a barricade or come off of things and go flying around. Now, in my experience in the past, free recoil, allowing the rifle's recoil impulse to move it wherever it wants to go, has not worked very well for me, especially from the prone position. When you shoot a rifle with a bipod and a rear bag in the prone position and allow it to free recoil, it will generally hop. You'll completely lose your sight picture. And you have very little control over the orientation of the muzzle as the rifle goes through its recoil impulse. This can cause all kinds of problems, but generally you'll see group sizes open up if you try to free recoil off a bipod. Well, this is not what we were talking about in the current free recoil discussion. This is more referencing free recoil off of barricades. Very often in precision rifle competition, the obstacle or the barricade that you'll shoot off of, and for this discussion, pretty much any obstacle that you're going to rest the rifle on becomes a barricade. For shooting off of barricades, some barricades are very strong, very well built, very well anchored to the ground, and you're able to load the rifle or drive the rifle into the barricade. If you have a barricade stop on the rifle, or you have your bipod set further back, or the front of the magazine well, or the magazine itself, can all work as steps or barricade stops that allow you to push the rifle into the barricade. You then use your body weight to anchor the back of the rifle into that barricade, and this will hold the rifle very steady if it's a stable barricade, and will allow you to not only control the rifle through recoil, very often it will allow you to spot your impact on the target downrange. This is great if you're unsure of your wind call or you're unsure of the range to the target. You can see that splash, you can adjust off of it, and hopefully on the next shot you can get your hit. Well, some barricades just don't allow this. Some barricades are very rickety, they rattle, they twist over, or it may be a situation where if you try to load the rifle against a barricade, you're just going to push the whole works over and get DQ'd for the stage. So you need a different technique when you do that. Now, if you are really lightly loading the rifle against a very unsteady barricade, you're pushing into that and you're probably not able to hold your body perfectly still, so you're inducing a little bit of movement into that barricade, and that will open your wobble area up quite a bit. You can see it just looking through the scope, and you can see how your crosshairs are wobbling around on the target. Well, if you want to test this without actually firing a shot, set your rifle on a barricade, see when you load it how much wobble you get, and then come off of it and just let the rifle rest on the barricade on its own, and you'll notice that it is much more stable when it's resting on the barricade on its own than when you're pushing into it. Your wobble area shrinks considerably. Now obviously if you just set your rifle on top of the barricade and pull the trigger, it's going to come flying off. So we do still need to control the rifle. Very often it will be either holding the fore end or pushing down on the scope, or some other way actually keeping your body in contact with the rifle. This again will induce a little bit more wobble, but not as much as actually pushing into it with your shoulder. Now there are a couple of other techniques for actually getting your face behind the scope to complete the sight picture, some of which involve dropping the cheek piece. When I went out and tested it at the range, I was just lightly resting my cheek on the comb, so I wasn't actually pushing down. The other technique is a lot of guys will, if they have adjustable butt pads, they will shorten their length of pull so they can still get up into that eye relief of the scope and see what they need to see, but the buttstock is not actually touching their shoulder. For me, because I didn't want to rearrange my entire rifle for this test, I just made sure I had about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch space between the buttstock and my shoulder. When I tested it, I did this with a 30 caliber suppressed rifle, so it wasn't a really light recoiling rifle like some of the 6mm competition calibers. It still did have some rearward recoil, so I want to make sure my shoulder was there to catch the rifle if I had an excess of movement. And what I found shooting this way is, first of all, it takes a lot of practice. It's not something that you can just go out and whip it out at a match and actually be successful into it. You need to put it into your training schedule and actually train to free recoil off a barricade. I can definitely see after I practice it a couple of times that free recoil does have a place in the shooter's toolbox for competition. So it's something that you shouldn't just discount right away because you're afraid of dropping your rifle. If you utilize the technique correct, be prepared for movement of the rifle, and have that support side actually controlling the rifle on the barricade, then you can get the technique down to where you can make sure you control the rifle through recoil, but you can definitely minimize the amount of wobble area that your body is inducing into the rifle itself. Now this is not something that's going to work in every situation, and I can already see having done that in a training session and then the next day gone out and shot an actual match that was mainly barricade based. I can see that most of the time I'm still going to want to load that rifle hard into the barricade so I can spot my impact, so I can get right back onto it. In this case, it was a gas gun oriented match, so there were a lot of quick follow-up shots that were necessary. So being able to load the rifle and fire and have my crosshair stay on that target and fire my second shot right away is a huge benefit. Free recoil does not allow that. When you fire, you pretty much mess up the shooting position and you have to reset the shooting position. It may not be really a bad situation where it takes you a long time to get back in, but it's definitely not something where you're going to get a rapid follow-up shot as soon as the crosshairs settle like you do when you load the rifle against the barricade. Now conversely, if you have a barricade that's wobbling all over the place, it doesn't matter because loading the barricade is not going to get you that stability anyway. You're still going to be wobbling all over the place. So I would suggest you take this technique out and you try it out and see where it will fit in your shooting style and situations that you could actually use it for. I fully intend to keep that in the back of my mind, so the next time I see a barricade that is wobbling all over the place, that I can go up and I can attempt to free recoil it and see how much better that works. I'm going to set up a couple of shooting scenarios in my training. I have one barricade that we have kind of set off to the side, and I don't use it a lot because it is fairly rickety. It doesn't sit well on the ground and it will wobble around a little bit. So I'm going to drag that thing back out and try a little bit more of the free recoil on it. But shooting on the primary barricade that I practice on, it worked. It just needs a little bit more fine-tuning. Now, one place where I don't think free recoil is really as applicable is for professional snipers. Professional sniper really needs to see what the result of that shot is. So if you're lining up on a bad guy, you don't want to free recoil that rifle. You may get a hit, you may get a peripheral hit. The bad guy may have moved at the last second and then ducked, and now you don't know if that was actually a hit or if he just ducked down and you didn't hit him at all. So free recoil is definitely not something that would be a primary technique for a law enforcement or a military sniper. It may be something that you still have in the back of your toolbox. I would never tell someone that a technique is something you should never use. If it is a safe, viable technique, it's something that you need to practice and then put in the back of your mind. Keep it in that toolbox. That way you can pull that technique out and you can use that to solve a problem if there is nothing else that will actually solve that problem. So it's something you can still go out and practice, but I don't see it as a first-line technique that a military or law enforcement sniper would want to use. And the main reason that I mention that is because the discussion on free recoil really cropped up on a professional Facebook page where it's a lot of knuckle-dragging trigger pullers that are out there putting bad guys down. And so that's where the initial discussion came up. I think for competition is definitely something you need to evaluate when you look at a barricade, if it's a technique that you could use or not. For a real-world scenario, I think it's probably more towards that last resort than it is a primary technique to engage a target. I think if you find yourself on a really rickety shooting platform, you probably need to reevaluate your shooting platform before you decide, hey, I'm going to go ahead and just free recoil it through this, unless it's one of those where you got to get that shot down range right now. So again, that's how I feel on it, and I always love to hear your input on how you guys feel about it. Do you guys utilize free recoil? Have you done it target shooting? Have you done it off of barricades? A lot of the PRS shooters that I've talked to, they utilize it as a technique when a barricade just isn't gonna suffice for loading the rifle. So I want to hear how you guys feel about it. Again, leave in the comments section below or send us an email at 8541tactical@gmail.com. And that's it really for the commentary for this Mail Call Mondays, and I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of match footage from the shoot this Sunday. That was primarily what I was doing yesterday. We dragged the Ma-10 out, and I was shooting it with the 140 grain RDFs. And the Ma-10, of course, is chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. And believe it or not, we have actually got it to the point where it will reliably feed the RDFs. We were having some issues in the past. I had to severely modify a PMag by cutting about 2/3 of the feed lips off of it in order to get it to reliably feed the 6.5 Creedmoor cartridges with the 140 RDFs set at maximum cartridge overall length for that magazine. But it ran through pretty much the entire match without a single malfunction. The rifle worked fine. Just any of the misses that I had were pretty much my fault, and the fact that I haven't got that rifle out and trained on it in a little while. But it worked great, and I tell you what, the tactical brass recovery brass catcher that we were using on it is fantastic for a gas gun match. I absolutely love the fact that I could come off the line and all my brass was in the bag, with the exception of the one time that I forgot and left the bag unzipped. But if I zipped up the bag and flipped it back over the ejection port, then it caught all my brass. I was able to keep it on the rifle. I was able to come back, unzip it, dump it out, put it back in my cartridge box, and then reload my magazines for the next stage. I didn't have to spend 10 minutes between each stage trying to go find my brass. So I absolutely love that takes a lot of stress out of it, especially barricade shooting, rooftop shooting, where you have no idea where your brass is going. So it's a great product. They are a little on the expensive side. Tactical Brass Recovery sent us out one to review, and it has really, really been a great piece. I love using the thing. So we'll leave a link to Tactical Brass Recovery down in the description below. Check them out if you guys need a brass catcher for your brass gun or for your gas gun. They are a great option. So again, that's it for this Mail Call Mondays. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. Send them to us on Facebook or Twitter, or email them to us at 8541tactical@gmail.com. If you like the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, Get out and shoot.
Shooter ready.
Shooter ready.
Engage.